Welcome everyone to the Q&A session for our upcoming course, the Vocal Impulse Advanced Practicum, the 14-week journey to transform difficult emotions, release blocked energy, and heal old narratives through healing sounds of your own voice. My name is Nadira, and it's my pleasure to be hosting this hour-long Q&A call for the Shift Network, where we will explore the teachings of Chloe Goodchild and address questions about her upcoming 14-week course, the Vocal Impulse Advanced Practicum, which begins Monday, July 11th. Later, I will explain how you can participate in this course, even if you can't attend the live sessions. But first, I am delighted to introduce our guest. Chloe Goodchild is an international singer, educator, author, and founder of The Naked Voice and its UK charitable foundation, dedicated to the realization of compassionate communication in all realms of human life. Deafness in childhood catalyzed Chloe's deep encounter with her inner self and began a lifetime's experiential research into the voice as a catalyst for personal evolution and global transformation. Chloe teaches and performs internationally. Her singing can be heard on a range of albums available online. Her music is inspired by ancient and modern world genres, sacred chants, anthems, love songs, and poetry across a wide spectrum of human feeling. Audiences discover their own voices in spontaneous ways, which expand and flow, generating a unified field of awareness, or the singing field. In just a few moments, we will open up for questions, but first, I am so pleased to welcome Chloe, who will begin our call by leading us in an opening exercise. Chloe, welcome to the call.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you. So, everyone, kindly just bring your awareness into the middle of your body. Just close your eyes and just arrive in the space, in this singing field of awareness. That is primarily your very own body. And I want you just to bring your awareness to your breath and just notice where you're breathing. Are you breathing in the belly? Are you breathing in the heart? Where are you? Where is your awareness right now? And just let yourself relax. Let the shoulders relax. Maybe just rotate the shoulders back a little bit, a couple of times, 2-3 times. And just take a sigh. As you lift your shoulders up, breathing in and just drop the shoulders. And breathing in, lift the shoulders up and down. That's great. And just really connect, just really become fully aware in your whole torso. Finding your naked, your natural, and your authentic voice really, really depends on having a very strong spine, a very strong ascending, descending awareness of that line of energy that rises up through the body from the earth and rises up into the sky and then is received from the sky, letting yourself receive from the sky and just bringing the awareness from the crown of the head right down into the middle of the head, embodying your awareness in the middle of the head, in the throat chakra. Be aware of a big light right at the center of the head of your skull, just where the pineal gland and the pineal chakra is. Be aware of that light, how that light connects with the universe and also how we receive energy from the universe into the crown of the head, into the center of the head, down into the throat. And then just let that light descend on down into the shoulders, the right and left arms and hands. Just relaxing your fingers a little bit. Just give them a little shake and just say hello to them. You may just want to give them a little massage. And just let the hands relax. So there's no tension in the arms, no tension in the whole torso. You may just want to place your hand gently on the center of the chest and just say hello to your heart center. And then bring the awareness on down into the belly. And just aware of that descending energy moving on down into the root of your body, the pelvis, the genitals, the anus, the whole pelvic girdle. Really just feel all of that relaxing and grounding, connecting to the thighs, the hips, the knees, right down the calves into the middle of your feet. Really embody your awareness in the middle of your feet. And let roots, just imaginal roots of energy, just descend down and burrow down into the earth so you can feel complete stability in your form and connection with the earth and the deepest gratitude to the earth for this life, for this breath. And then just letting yourself just be present to this singular hour that we have together. And let's imagine this is perhaps either the first or the last hour of our life. And it's going to be really important to connect directly with what matters most to you in this session, with your questions, with your aspirations, with your intention, and also to be aware of the music of apprehension, of maybe excitement or nervousness, the very thought of the possibility of finding your voice in a way you never imagined possible. There are those for which singing and making sound is an art form, a performative art form. And for others, it's a metaphor for living. And this work with the naked voice really embraces both. When you're ready, just opening your eyes and just being aware of yourself sitting in a field of like-minded other beings who are all so very, very, very connected, very connected with you and with your experience of your voice. And you'll probably find that you have a lot of like-minded allies here who are asking similar questions and really wanting to get to the bottom of this voice, of what it is and how we find it together. And how these new codes of awareness, these new sonic codes of awareness, the musical modes can possibly assist us in this process. Absolutely at the heart of this work is bringing together, always bringing together. So whether you're asking a question or responding, is always to be aware of the triadic nature of your communication. So that's your breath, your feelings, your intuitive mind, and also your observing mind. So when we're communicating together, what we're going to learn is how this triadic way of communicating can just be unified as one embodied vocal expression. It is your birthright. So just take another big breath and just roll the shoulders around. And just find yourself saying, yes, 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 yes. And I'd like just to share one poem with you. This poem is from my dear friend, Coleman Barks, who made these wonderful versions of Rumi's poems. And in this poem, Rumi is saying, there is a way between voice and presence where information flows. In disciplined silence, it opens. With wandering talk, it closes. There is a way. There is a way between voice and presence, where transformation flows. In disciplined silence, it opens. With wandering talk, it closes. So we're going to be in this class, we're going to be really taking the music of our wandering, chattering, busy minds and constellating it, distilling it down like alchemists of the voice into a deeper relationship with communication and with your communication, because your voice is utterly unique. So let's go there. And Nadiri, may I hand over to you now?
Yes, thank you so much. We want to make sure that we have the rest of our time together to dive into questions for Chloe as we prepare for her upcoming course, the Vocal Impulse Advanced Practicum, which begins Monday, July 1st. If at any time during this call you want to learn more about this upcoming 14-week course, please visit vocalimpulseadvanced.com to see the full description. And now let's get started with the questions. First, if you have questions for our customer service department, you can contact them directly at support.theshiftnetwork.com. If you have a question for Chloe, please type your questions in and I am happy to read them. And the first question that we are going to begin with is from Deb, who says, I will often hum or tone and have been playing with sounding my emotions. However, I'm not always able to sing a certain pitch or tone or even tell for sure if I'm on pitch. I think I feel tones more than I am able to hear whether I'm on pitch. How important is it to be able to sing these scales as you teach them? Can I just feel my way through and receive the benefit if I'm not singing the scales or the pitch exactly as they are taught? And thank you very much for offering this course.
Oh, thank you for that great and very important question. So your vocal range matters. That is like number one. That is number one. Many of us have very traumatic experiences of being told we couldn't sing at school because we just didn't happen to be able to sing immediately in the vocal range that our music teacher was requiring us to. And so sometimes there's a kind of wounding around that, as if to say, teachers they wouldn't have meant to, but they would have communicated to us, that our vocal range wasn't as important as their vocal range. So I want you to know that your vocal range is absolutely where you must lead from. And there will be an opportunity for us to explore the modes in different keys and in different pitches, of course. And what's really important, first of all, is for you to feel the mood of the mode. All right. So the mood comes first. And then you will find that the music of that mood will just fall out of you as I sense it already is, okay? And then we start to feel, what's the shape of that mood? Is it very, are the kind of musical intervals that make that mood, are they very close together? Are they very open and spread out? So then we start to listen that way as well. And we let the mood or the music of that mood lead us. So, like now, it might be, I'm just, if I'm not even thinking, ha, ha, ha. All right. That's just what is here right now. That's the mood. And so, what can you hear? What can you hear there? Ah, as opposed to, oh, okay. So that's a different kind of mood. And can you hear how the mood has a different kind of music? And the second one, oh, it's more, you know. You can feel how the mood kind of compels our sound to scrunch together more. And then, so we listen to that and we go, okay, so what's that? All right. So the earlier part of this course, we're going to be exploring much more of this and getting used to musicating our moods. Now, there will be like homework, if you like. There will be kind of vocal musical homework. And I will be giving you some quite rigorous practices, in fact, that will be associated with the different moods that show up each week and the music that mood expresses. Okay. Now, if you find that those practices, which will be recordings that you'll receive every week, you're going to be receiving a 30-minute recording practice for you to work with throughout the week. So if you find, and that will be starting on A, which is this note here. La. So you might just want to hear that now and go, ah. Does that relate to your voice? Can you hear it? If you can hear it, that's great. If not, you might go, okay, I'm just going to listen to these practices to begin with and just really let them in while I'm doing the washing up, while I'm walking about the building, while I'm, on my way to work or whatever. And I'm just going to let them sink in. So there's going to be quite an absorbative process and journey that we're going to be on. Just really getting used to hearing our moods in these musical frameworks. And that's what I'm really, really excited about. And I hope you will be too. So do not be concerned about your pitch or the pitch. There is no right or wrong, as we know so well.
Thank you very much. This next question is from Julie, who says, what role does the collaboration of singing and yoga have towards general well-being? Does one do something the other doesn't? Do they both balance in different ways? Thank you, from a yogi singer.
Oh, well, I look forward to hearing how you love to sing. Again, every person in this course is going to be the teacher, all right? We all have such unique relationships with our voices. We have unique relationship with our sound, depending on how we spend our time, how we like to practice awareness and so on. I'm really excited, actually, you're bringing this question up around yoga and sound, because for me, they're not separate. They're exactly the same thing. So, for example, with this course, I actually thought about calling it the Yoga of Sound, as a subtitle or even in a main title. It's so interesting to me that when I have been working with yoga practitioners, very often this relationship between yoga as a physical practice with the asanas and so on has been kind of seemingly separated from the what for many people is like the bhakti chanting, the devotional chanting and so on, or the mantric chanting. That's changing very fast now, by the way. And I'm really, really excited by the fact that that is changing. About 10 or 20 years ago, yoga was the physical practice, and the sound just wasn't happening. And interestingly enough, a lot of yoga practitioners I was coming across at that time were really quite nervous about singing. It's the same thing with sound healing and with voice healing. Again, sound healing has ever so slightly been apparently conceptualized as a different thing from vocal healing. And what we're doing in this course is bringing all these components of your authentic voice back together into a unified field of expression. So silence, the movement of an asana is music. That in itself is music. I don't know whether you actually sing while you're moving with your yogic practice. Is that something that we might hear the answer to? I don't know. But if not, then consider that. Consider that. Obviously, the sound of the Om, R-A-E or is absolutely, everywhere. Everyone is sounding that sound. That sound is the absolute ground of sound, or the ground of consciousness. So, yes, your sound, there are different, your voice has a whole spectrum of expression. And the way that you chant a mantra will be very different from the way that you react to a member of the family or, someone in the street. Okay. For me, this is all music. We're going to be learning how the musical modes can help us to start really expanding our awareness so that our awareness of sound, when we practice it in yoga, which is a very, very special honoring of sound, is just not separate from the sound of your voice while you're eating breakfast with your friend, or with your child. Okay, so I'm wanting us to really go so deep that we can start to hear this unified field of sound in absolutely every realm of our life. And that's where the modes are going to be such incredible, magical bridges for us. Because they don't belong to religion. They don't belong to Veda. They don't belong to jazz, But nevertheless, religion, sacred lineages, the mystical traditions, every bit as much as our contemporary music has drawn and has found solace in these different musical scales. Of course, in Indian music, that has been really investigated very, very deeply. And there's no question that the Vedic chants and the Vedic mantras, which are otherwise Veda meaning wisdom, the wisdom chants of ancient India, are absolutely the ground of our inspiration for contemporary sound now. Many of us wouldn't know that, but our job in this course is to remember that as well. I hope that gives a little bit of a response to your question.
Thank you. This next question is from Angie, who says, I have a lot of what feels like very buried anger. How will learning these musical modes help me to shift that?
Yes. Oh, I always get very excited when people say things like that. So my question to you, like now, is, and particularly actually when you're when that anger isn't so prominent, is to just start listening to it. Now, how do we listen to it so that we can start to hear the musical modal nature of it? If we just listen with our reactionary mind, with our reactive mind, right? Or with our kind of soap opera drama mind, yeah, okay, which is in a kind of reactivity that doesn't have any particular spatial awareness around it, or there's no observing mind there. There's no awareness of the kind of presence that anger might be arising out of. We're going to be exploring how we really anchor ourselves in an embodied awareness that enables us to observe, to intuit, and also to empathize with the sound that is coming out of us. So that when that buried sound comes out, and it must come out, it must be heard. It wants to be heard in our world, it is to be heard within the context of an aware, non-judging space. And ideally, in a space where it is anger as anger, right? Now, we could spend a lot of time going, where does that anger come from? What's the narrative related to that anger? Who's responsible for making you feel so angry? Let's go and get them, right? We could get into voice work like that. It's more of a kind of psychodramatic relationship with the voice, okay? What I would like to encourage us to do, and yourself and all of us, is to really listen to that anger as music, right? As sound that has relevance for now, for this moment now. And I think what you'll find is that the more deeply you listen to this anger and learn how to skillfully really be present to it. So that means being able to express it at the same time as being able to observe and listen to it, right? That's what we're going to be learning. You will find that it has such a powerful, creative, impassioned message for you. If you think what that energy is, what's the kind of nature of it? It's like fire, right? Where does fire come from? I'm going to leave that question with you. Where is it? Is it from the belly? Is it from the solar plexus? Is it from your passionate, artistic spirit that is just really waiting to really embody itself? Or where is that anger coming from? And what is its music? And I think there's one particular mode, a musical mode called the Phrygian mode, which where all the notes are very close together, right? And la la la, that kind of sound. I don't know whether that rings any bells. I'm hearing in your question maybe a kind of, I don't know, flamenco or fiery Latin thing. But let's find out.
Thank you very much. I wanted to circle back around to Julie's question and say that if you are listening live still, and Chloe has invited you to share a little bit more clarifying information about your question, feel free to type it into the webcast, and if we have time, I will share it. So that's the first thing. And then for everyone else, if you're just joining us, we are here with Chloe Goodchild, learning about her upcoming course, the Vocal Impulse Advanced Practicum, which begins on Monday, July 1st. You can log on to vocalimpulseadvanced.com for all of the details and to register. And now for the next question coming in, we have a question from Kathy who says, how long does it take to feel the benefit of this work? I've been listening to frequencies for over 3 months now, and it seems that things are getting worse rather than better.
I'd like to know more about what that means to be saying you're listening to frequencies. I wonder what these frequencies are. And in terms of answering your question, I actually have no idea, is all I can tell you. What I sense in your question, however, is that there's an anxiety in relation to sound, and in relation to listening to sound. And I'd like to know a little bit more about what it's like, for example, just simply to say your name. Is that comfortable? Is it comfortable to, how comfortable is it to breathe? Where are you most at home in your body? What kind of context? Is it in nature? Is it in your home where you live? Are the frequencies that you're hearing, do you think they might be in some way created by a particular atmosphere or environment in which you're in? And I would need to know more about that. So if you feel like sharing a bit more about that, that would be great. And if not, we can explore when we get to the course. But what you're saying is very, very important, because if there is an anxiety around your relationship with sound, whether it's coming from the outside in, that may be one thing. It may be the environment is just a very disturbing environment for some reason, and therefore the frequencies connected with that environment are very disturbing. Then I would ask you to really explore how you can move your body away from that environment and start really looking at how you can create environments or allow yourself to be in environments where the frequencies are not so painful to listen to. And then there are really simple practices that we can do that will assist you to start listening to your sound from the inside out. If these frequencies are related to tinnitus, for example, that might be another reason for them. Again, I would need to know about that. I am aware some of my students have been exploring the frequencies of crystal bowls in relation to tinnitus and have found that the effects of these crystal bowls of particular frequencies very friendly and very healing in relation to tinnitus. But that's a whole other conversation.
Thank you. Callie would like to know, how can I release lower chakra blockages through my voice when my throat chakra is also blocked?
Oh, yeah. I'm sure you're not alone. In fact, probably we are 8 billion people living on the planet. I think it's pretty clear from looking at the turbulence on our planet right now, that probably you'll find you've got a lot of allies experiencing the same thing. And that's something that I'm really, really concerned about, but also really inspired to explore with you. Very often what I say is, if you feel this lack of relaxation here, it's very often because the jawline, the tension in the head and in the skull and in the ears themselves, and also sometimes it's to do with the way that we're having to communicate in the world. For example, I used to teach, it's something like 411 children every week in one of the most dangerous schools in North London. And it wasn't surprising that I found myself getting a really sore throat because I was in a very tense situation. And I don't know how that relates for you, but my decision was to really move my body into a context and into a way of working with the voice where I could still work with young people in a way that was much more relaxing and where they volunteered to show up. Now, that opens up a whole other conversation about music education, and I want to stay right in with your conversation. So the first thing, of course, here is to explore how we can do some practices together that will actually enable you to open up the jaw, relax the ears, so that you're not straining muscles unnecessarily in the throat and in the neck area. So that's one thing. Another thing at the level of human feeling and at the level of your soul, which is very central to our work together. So in other words, we're not just the technical dimension of the voice is very related to what we're doing. But what I find is the more we fall in love with the center of the chest, the more the center of the chest starts to relax and the heart starts to open, we shift from a personality voice, a relationship with our personality voice, to a relationship with the voice of our soul, the voice of your soul. And it's like falling in love, except you don't need any outer object of love. You're just falling in love with sound, and sound is falling in love with you. And as soon as that falling in love experience starts happening, so, for example, one thing I suggest to people is just simply to look in the mirror and just to consider just singing, "How I love you, how I love you." So that's just one little love song that you can start straight away. And you can take those through all the different modes. You can have happy versions of that, sad versions of that. What's really interesting, I'd just like to share with you, is that there's a particular note in the middle of these this octave of consciousness that we're going to be exploring, and it's the third, and it's right in the solar plexus, okay? And it's called Ga, right? And you can sing that sa. So we're going to be learning this scale, which is like the do re mi, only it's sa, re, and ga are the first three notes, okay? And when you sing those first three notes, sa, re, ga, okay? That's one way of singing it, all right? Now, if you choose a different mode, that's an Ionian mode. If you choose a different kind of mode, you might want to sing it slightly more sad. So it might be sa, re, ga. I'm not very happy with my throat being so constricted, all right? And isn't that interesting that those two gas, sa, re, ga, or sa, re, ga, are that close together. Sa, re, ga, sa, re, ga, ga, ga. So can you see how emotion is so important in the way that we listen to our sound, and how you sound those first three notes? And the more you relax into those first three notes, you'll find that everything else, the ma, which follows, which is the heart sound, will just be so happy. It'll just open like a flower, okay? So that's more food for thought.
Thank you so much. That was an amazing answer. The next question is from Zorana, who would like to know, is it also effective if I play the different modes on my instrument, for example, piano or flute, instead of singing?
Well, again, this is so exciting, because it's going to be so different on each of those three modalities. Do you know what? I just have to share with you, I'm just thinking of taking up the cello again. I haven't taken up the cello. I haven't played the cello for about, I don't know how long. And I suddenly was asking myself the same question you're asking, which is so exciting. It's going to be the same. It's going to be different. It's going to be the same. It's going to be different. Every time we sing the same mode, it's different. We can sing. So that's going to be something to explore. So, in other words, I don't have the final answer on this. All I can tell you is it's very new territory, this. It's very difficult to find. If you Google a conversation around what we're discussing right here, there's very little information out there on this. So, as Stephen was saying, this really is cutting edge exploration. So you are a pioneer in this conversation, let me just tell you. And I'm really excited that you play such different instruments. You have the voice and you have the flute. Oh my God, fabulous. So you've got those really high frequencies and the piano, which is one massive orchestra of emotion. So I can't wait to hear if you're really serious about joining us and pioneering this work together, what your experience is going to be. And we're going to really be tracking this experience. It takes us into the field of neuromusicology, but in terms of this particular course, we'll be focusing primarily on your becoming absolutely proficient at this, remembering you have a very musical mind. Okay, so that one, many of us, who've been told we're not musical, have really got to really lend your attention to breaking through that illusion. It is a total illusion, right? So you are one of the most musical people you ever met. All right, so that's something to remember as well. So bring your flute, bring your piano. Let's see what happens. Let's start the modes on different pitches, and see what unfolds.
Thank you. And Erna would like to know, what if one does not have a musical education and cannot read or sing notes? Is it still possible to learn the ancient modes before beginning this workshop?
Bless you 1,000 times. I tell you, just let that story go. Let that story go that you have not had any music education. What I hear you being concerned about is you haven't had any traditional music education. This is going to be very untraditional for the most part, okay? So we are exploring this from the sonic laboratory of your voice, how you experience your voice, and how your voice is shaped and expresses itself as inspired by your emotions. So just consider this. If I was just to ask you now, just to sing hope, all right? Just like the state, an emotional state, hope, hopefulness. What might that sound like? Just without even thinking. How might it be for you? Have a go yourself right now, even just in your house. Or if I was to ask you to imagine singing something like suspicion, what does suspicion sound like? Okay. Now, can you hear? That was just my version. Yours will be very different, right? And what you'll hear is I was sliding the sound sometimes. So in our music education, sadly, we didn't, certainly in the Western world, nobody taught us much about the music in between the notes, right? So the fact that we were taught la 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 la, and then we were taught to do that well in public, right? What we're doing here is going, let's just open up even just the first two notes. La, la. Right. Let's just look at that through a magnifying glass and Okay. Now, I don't know about you, but when I was at school, nobody asked me to do that. And that's just what I wanted to do. I wanted to be able to sing the subtlety of sound, to bring the subtlety of my feeling into sound through my voice, right? So I wasn't able to do that. So I had to do this kind of music education thing, which involved a lot of choral singing, which I'm really grateful for, and took me into a college. But it wasn't really until I went and started hearing indigenous music and African music and Indian microtonal vocal music through ragas and Pakistani Sufis singing with a rattle, 6 notes for an hour, just like, what was that? That moved me. It just moved me so much more deeply than so much of my, squeaky clean music education. So don't worry about the music education story. Just let that story go. No one's concerned about that, okay? Just bring yourself, your feelings, and your willingness to start listening to yourself and communicating with yourself and with others in much more all-inclusive, non-judging, spacious ways, all right? Where your voice matters. Your voice matters. Okay. And you can there'll be practices, there'll be all kinds of practices, and it'll be your choice to take or leave and work with the ones that really work for you. The good news is that's why I'm so excited about these practicums, because there's going to be these 4 practicums where what I've learned from the previous courses with Shift is that when we have these breakout sessions at the end of every class, where you will meet 2 other people in a triad, and they will be from 2 other different countries, perhaps. And you will practice with them for a concentrated period of time. And you'll be learning how to listen to each other much more compassionately, without judging. And you'll have an opportunity to listen to others, to learn from how other people express themselves. And then also how you can learn to listen in a whole new way. As I was saying, that brings together your capacity to observe without judging, to empathize at the same time, to really let your imagination from your heart center really open your soul so you can start hearing yourself making sounds you didn't even know were in there, right? So be not concerned about the music education thing. Some of us will have been through that, and it was an absolute nightmare, all right? And a lot of people that I've worked with, a lot of people that have been through the music education thing, and they've had to come to our class and they have just had to unlearn so much before they could really hear themselves as their soul wanted to be heard and expressed. So we welcome you.
Thank you very much. We're going to have time for 1 or 2 more questions, but before we take those, I want to take a moment to mention the Vocal Impulse Advanced Practicum one more time. This is going to be an inspiring, as you can tell, 14-week journey under Chloe's guidance, where we will develop a holistic and heartfelt understanding of the practices, tools, and principles needed to engage the Vocal Impulse Advanced Practicum. This 14-week course takes place on Mondays at 10 a.m. Pacific, starting Monday, July 1st. And if for any reason you cannot join us live, you won't miss the teachings. You will receive audio and video replays, transcripts, and all course handouts via your course homepage. Also, I'd like to remind you that we offer a no-risk money-back guarantee on our courses, giving a full 2 weeks until July 15th in this case, to make sure you absolutely love it. And if you have been listening for any amount of time or have worked with Chloe before, I'm sure you know that you will absolutely love it. As an added option, all participants are welcome to connect via our private Facebook community group so you can stay connected with one another. And everyone who registers for the course will receive the Vocal Impulse Advanced Practicum bonus collection, which includes modal awareness, a daily vocal practice, which is 6 musical modes. Then the daily vocal practice album from Chloe with orchestral arrangement by David Lord. And the Sounds of Your Soul, 3 modules from the video course with Chloe. And then 7 Sounds of Love, which is a video and PDF book chapter, also from Chloe. And Chloe, can you share a little bit more about what you're most looking forward to in this upcoming course?
Well, I mean, I am just more excited than I have ever been because this is one unique course. I have never really brought this course in this form ever in my 30 years of teaching. I have explored it and begun to explore it in person in my in-depth retreats and so on. And but I think what I'm most excited about is the fact that we are about to embark upon some very pioneering explorations together. This has never been done before, as far as I'm aware. And I think we're just going to all come out of it when life is not going to be the same ever again. And every single person's voice matters. There is no right or wrong about what we're going to do. I am absolutely excited about really helping us to dissolve this terror that exists in so many people's lives about not being musical and not having a voice, or thinking that voice work and singing is some separate performative activity, for some elitist group of trained musicians and all of that. We so have to end that narrative. That narrative has really created the complex communications that we're seeing played out across the entire planet right now. Unconscious communication. We have to address this, not only in terms of our personal lives, but to be aware that our personal, really taking responsibility for our own conscious communication and our own soul communication is going to go miles and miles and miles in terms of dissolving the tension on the planet right now. So I'm just so excited. So excited to be exploring this with you and to be learning from you too. We're all going to be learning from each other.
Thank you. And our final question is from Karn, who says, I used chanting or singing in my spiritual practice for many, many years, but took a hiatus the last couple of years due to deaths close to me. I keep getting that things are changing up and I am to use new frequencies of sound for healing. Do you think cosmically new frequencies are coming in, or is this just due to my own healing and release work that I've done? And thank you so very much for your work.
Thank you for your work. Thank you. Certainly, there's no question that when we experience tragedy in our lives, as we all have done, music, sound, and song are an extraordinary friend in that regard. And I wouldn't be surprised if the experience that you've had as you've learned to, and as you are navigating letting go, grief and loss, of losing people, that inevitably is going to open up the sensitivity of your own sonic field of awareness. And what I hear you speaking of, which is so important, is this capacity to really receive sound every bit as much as give sound. So that will be a very important part. So thank you for really bringing that piece in. Yes, absolutely yes to these new frequencies. I'm not sure how new they are. I think they have always been there. We are planetary beings. We are made up of this unified web of interconnected sound and consciousness. And so I think what's happening, though, is that because we are being so compelled at this time on Earth to open and to change and to really start to hear ourselves, and to hear the electromagnetic field of our consciousness at wider and wider levels, that it's not surprising that you're going to be hearing new frequencies. And those new frequencies are really making themselves available, I think, to more and more people. So I think you'll find yourself in good company and with people that really want to perhaps learn from you also as to how this has happened for you. And of course, for many of us, we don't have words for these things. We never used to speak about these things. We're not used to it, perhaps. So, one of the purposes for me of this course is for us to not only have these experiences of our voice in a whole new way, but to really develop the confidence and the courage and the compassion, the generosity to really start developing a new language of consciousness. And that's really what's going to be happening. So thank you for your very important question. Mm.
Thank you so much. This has been such a sweet hour with you, Chloe, and I want to thank everyone for being with us. And thank you, Chloe, for sharing your teachings and your wisdom with all of us on the call today. The Vocal Impulse Advanced Practicum starts Monday, July 1st. And again, please visit vocalimpulseadvanced.com to learn more and to register. And Chloe, do you have any final words that you would like to share with our listeners?
Well, you read my mind. You read my mind. There is just one lovely quote that I would love to leave you with. This is from definitely an ally. She is a new scientist, and some of you may well have heard of Candace Pert, who wrote this wonderful book called The Molecules of Emotion: Why You Feel the Way You Feel. So she's definitely an ally for us. And at the end of her book, so she's been exploring how all the neurotransmitters and the receptors and the peptides and all these wonderful things called ligands affect the cells, and how our emotions affect the very cellular structure of our bodies. And then by the end of the book, she just goes, oh my God, I just have to acknowledge I'm a scientist, but without emotions, basically, and without the influence of our emotions, there can be no evolution of consciousness. So she then finishes by saying, we must take responsibility for the way we feel, and the way we express how we feel is what I would say. The notion that others can make us feel good or bad is untrue. Consciously, or more frequently, unconsciously, we are choosing how we feel at every single moment. Consciously or unconsciously, we are choosing how we feel at every single moment. The external world is, in so many ways, a mirror of our beliefs and our expectations. Why we feel the way we feel is the result of the symphony and the harmony of our molecules of emotion. Isn't that gorgeous? I just have to say that again. Why we feel the way we feel is the result of the symphony and the harmony of our emotions. Of the molecules of our emotion that affect every single aspect of our physiology, producing blissful good health or miserable disease. So these modes are going to be introducing us to the very moods that create positive feeling or negative self-destructive feeling. And they are wedded to each other. They are complementary forces. And we're going to learn how we use our voices to literally interconnect and reconnect and befriend, outworn emotions or outworn stories that are really seeking new ground, new life. And that new life is for you right now with your voice. And it's the vocal impulse that is absolutely the required piece. It's without that impulse to do this, there has to be discernment, there has to be determination, serious determination, okay? And as many of you have implied, there has to be deep devotion. And those three will be the pillars of our journey. God bless everyone and thank you. Thank you, Nadire.
Thank you so much, Chloe. And thank you to everyone who joined us today. On behalf of all of us at the Shift Network, I wish you well, and we look forward to having you on this course and or another one in the future. Take care.